Hey everyone, did you forget us? I hope not. It's episode 17 of Two Noobs Talking with my good buddy John Tracy. Of course, I'm Matt Craig. Happy you're with us. John, how you doing, man? What's going on tonight?
Doing great. We're only dropping a day late, Matt. It's
Some of us, I guess, were probably buried under a foot of snow, just saying over here, and another
indisposed.
4 inches on top of that. It's like
We had the Super Bowl.
the Super
I,
Bowl.
I needed some sleep. Hey, we're gonna launch it. We're gonna launch on a day late, but hey, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, John, let's go right in. I mean, let's talk the Super Bowl. I mean, the one thing I think that really comes to mind is just the greatness of Tom Brady. I mean, once again, he wins another Super Bowl championship, his seventh
Got more than
title.
Jordan.
Yeah. And I can't think of any other like modern day superstar that has had this kind of level of success in a professional sports league ever. The closest I could probably think of would be Wayne Gretzky in hockey with those Edmonton Oilers teams in the 80s. And, he would always win.
He's definitely amongst the Jordans, the Kobes, the Shaqs, the Bill Russells.
Yeah.
What would he have, like 12?
Yeah.
But like he's definitely amongst those, like the sports aura of, oh wow.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow. Like this guy is he's just championship material.
He really is. Yeah.
Works his butt off. And he's also the biggest, he triggers everybody. That's what I kind of like about him.
It's really amazing too, because like the common debate we have I have in my office, I'm sure you do where you work, is okay, well, is Tom Brady the greatest of all time?
No.
And I got posed that question to me today at work, and I was like, yes, but I'll always love Joe Montana. Joe Montana to me was the man.
My whole argument, and I'll just tell you mine is, okay, so he won more than everybody else. It doesn't mean he was greater than everybody else.
Exactly.
Because if Joe Montana had Gronkowski, he would have won 154 titles.
Exactly.
He would have played until he was 125.
Yeah.
Like it's you know what I mean? Like Tom not only is Tom great? Yeah, absolutely. Tom's great. Like Tom's always going to go down, and we're gonna be talking about him for years and years. He's the measuring stick for this next generation, but he's not the previous generation.
No. And I think that's probably where a lot of the debate seems to always butt heads with a lot of people, because they always think, well, Tom's won so many Super Bowls, he's got to be the greatest of all time. And I think your point's well stated, because it's like, if you're going to like measure the number of championships, how many can you get to where Tom is now? I don't think no one's ever going to touch him. I don't think there's going to be, at this rate, the longevity that he's played with, 20 some odd years in the NFL. Could I see that happen? Yeah, I could see that happen. Could I see Pat Mahomes do it? Yes, I could see Pat Mahomes doing that for 20 some odd years. But 7 titles, that's one every 3 years. That's tough to do. Really difficult to do.
The funny part is I'll look at it always just to break it down a little bit deeper with other sports. It's like, is Kobe better than Jordan, or is Jordan better than Kobe?
Yeah.
Or if LeBron gets to that, and this is my problem with the ESPN generation. So if LeBron gets to that number, right? Is it about chasing the number? Is it about the quality of years? Was Jordan great? Absolutely. In my mind, Kobe was better. I bet you half the people I know that like basketball would tell me I was crazy. But here's the thing. I think Kobe was better. Do I think Brady's better than Montana? Play for play? No. Championships? Yes.
Yeah. And of course, like the argument I've always heard too with Joe Montana is, well, look who he threw to. And I'll grant you that. Greatest wide receiver ever in Jerry Rice. Probably the second greatest receiver in John Taylor, one of the more underrated wide receivers that could be a number one in any other, wide receiver.
And you could also fight that Brady did it. Brady did it with a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but in the later years, I wouldn't call Edelman nothing. I wouldn't call you know what I mean.
No.
I wouldn't call Troy Brown nothing. The dude could
No. Yeah. Exactly. Troy
fight.
Brown was like one of the better receivers in the
He
league.
also played with Randy Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Not for long, but he had his best years playing with Randy Moss. It's so weird. Like I love baseball statistics and I love baseballreference.com, by the way. It's one of the greatest sites ever because it breaks things down, but it also doesn't allow you to cheat.
Yeah.
It doesn't use videos. It uses
It's pure stats. Yeah.
To just break it down. And I'd love to have this argument later on. Me and Matt will sit at a bar sometime and we'll have this argument. Is Brady the best? We're having it right now. I don't know.
It's hard to say because I'm thinking like in terms of championships, there's no one that with the will and the desire, like if you're in a Super Bowl, I would want this guy. But I guarantee you this. The old 80s me looks at Joe Montana. He never threw an interception in the biggest game ever. You know?
And they ran the ball a lot.
They did. They ran the ball more. You're right.
And New England runs the ball. So don't like I did okay, 04. Let's just go there. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Okay.
Do we really?
Let's rip it off right now. Okay. Corey Dillon beat us.
Yeah.
Adam Vinatieri beat us. Tom Brady didn't beat us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either.
Tom Brady, in fact, lost to the Eagles in Super Bowl 52, chucking the ball all over the place.
Yep.
And they didn't run the football, which was really weird if you're a New England Patriots fan.
Tom's a great quarterback with a great run. He had, I mean, and this is the thing that kind of turned me off. And I know it turned you off too, because you were like, this is boring halfway through the game. And I totally agreed with you. We didn't talk much during the game because I was more trying to find a way out of the game. I didn't know I was watching it. And I was like, I always had to justify to myself to turn the Super Bowl off. I didn't even know what was going on. It was like the weird because my wife would have totally just turned it off if I would have been like, I don't want to watch this. She would have been like, bloop, and it would have been fine. But yeah, I was like in that weird, like watching it. And I was like, they have Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
They have a really good offensive line.
They got Thomas Jones second. Yeah.
Yeah. They have Gronkowski.
Yeah. They got Mike Evans at wide receiver.
Antonio Brown.
They picked up off waivers. Yeah.
This time Tom was not surrounded by a bunch of.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they were struggling throughout the year, I mean, they were struggling with Arians' offense. They were making that point ad nauseum. It seemed like in the broadcast, Tony Romo and.
I mean, that's what they do. Like,
well, that's what they do. Yeah. But they ended up winning, going on the run. Very impressive, obviously, with that. I mean, Pat Mahomes and Kansas City, I think what they ended up doing was typical Andy Reid. He was trying to chuck the ball over the yard. And when push came to shove, he didn't want to run the football. It just is the Achilles heel of Andy Reid. Every single time he thinks.
And he can't beat Bruce Arians.
And he can't seem to beat Bruce Arians no matter what. But chucking the ball everywhere doesn't always win you the ball game, no matter how great Pat Mahomes is. And Mahomes had some he's a talent. You
want to hear a great next-gen stat?
Go for it.
He ran for over 500 yards trying not to get sacked.
That says a lot. Yeah.
That is great. That's Todd Bowles' defense. Like, Todd Bowles is as close to Jim Johnson as I think you can get.
Yeah.
If you want to get like real, like Spagnuolo on the other side with Andy Reid, mad respect for him as a defensive coordinator. Far better than what the Eagles have seen other than that championship. I don't know. Jim Schwartz is probably smoking crack. Actually paid attention.
Nick Foles won him that Super Bowl. I'll tell you that right now.
Exactly. But that defense was great.
But that defense came up with the right play. Yep.
There's better defensive coordinators out there. Todd Bowles, I think, is absolutely. I hope the rumor I heard with Arians retiring and Bowles is going to get that number one job. I hope that Brady stays around one more year, wins him a chip.
Would love that.
He deserves that Todd Bowles deserves that Super Bowl the most, I think, of anybody on that team.
It says a lot too that Arians hired a lot of, black head coach, black assistant coaches. He had Leftwich as his offensive coordinator, and he was like,
Always.
"Look at this wasn't me. This was all Byron Leftwich." That says a lot about Brian
He's always
Leftwich's
been
career.
like that in his career, and that's not like especially during Black History Month. It's funny that you bring that up. Like,
Yeah,
he's always been like that. His
Yeah.
entire career, his Temple staff,
yeah,
his Arizona staff,
his Arizona staff.
he could care what color you are. Can you coach football? Yes, I can. Cool, let's go.
Okay,
He's never in his quarterbacks, his players.
Yeah.
That's funny that you brought that. Like, I think he's Arians is a smart dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason he won.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's, you can chalk that up to the, as a definitely contributing factor. You've got two really, and they're both really good at what they do. And I think, to your point, Bowles was it failed in New York, but that's the Jets. He was on the Jets, and the Jets stink anyway. You're not going to win with the Jets at all.
No matter how smart you are, when your organization sucks, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah, exactly.
It always starts from the top down.
Yeah, it always does.
If the owner isn't dedicated, the janitor is going to suck.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
It's really that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really was. But another thing too, that John, that really kind of just struck me, I turned the game off halfway through it, because I think I knew after watching a little bit of the half, Kansas City wasn't going to come back. They just, their defense wasn't right. They had backup offensive linemen. They couldn't block Tampa Bay's defense. I'll give all credit to the Bucs defense. They were phenomenal. Then they stopped Mahomes. They double teamed Hill. They stopped Kelsey, all that kind of. So give them all the props for doing what they had to do. But this kind of I wanted to bring this up and talk about this to you and get your thoughts. You and I have been in a fantasy football league for over 20 years. My God.
Yeah.
But this was one of the years where I barely, and by barely, I mean one half of football during the regular season, one game, and half of the Super Bowl, and I was bored out of my mind both times.
Yeah.
I couldn't, I don't know what it is about the product. If the product isn't good anymore, or is it just the fact that people are running the same offenses and there's not enough imagination anymore? I don't know what it is.
I don't think it's that deep. I just think that the NFL, unlike the NBA and the NHL and Major League Baseball, they fell behind the times. So what the NFL did years ago was hire Roger Goodell because the media was throwing this, these players are getting away with everything. Blah, 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 blah. So what they did is they put a piece of garbage in charge. It shouldn't be a commissioner ever.
Thank you.
What he is he's a fist, is what he is. He's a tyrant.
Yeah.
And he ruined the game.
That Tagliabue really kind of built up in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know if Tagliabue was cool. But better than this guy. Yeah. It was just a choice in their leadership, and they just
well, you saw, I think what happened too was they really botched when they locked out the players in 2010. And you saw him with DeMaurice Smith, and
and then, to be honest with you, not to call a spade, then you started picking on black players.
Yeah.
Spending them.
Yeah. That didn't work either. That did not work. That did not come across well.
Seems a little odd because there's a lot of scumbags in the NFL, and I'm sure it's not color coordinated.
Oh, yeah. But
there is a lot of misrepresentation of a lot. Bullies in the locker room, totally get traded to another team. It was totally cool. Yeah, I'm not a fan of him at all.
I'm not a big fan of him either.
I kind of hope he's not in control of the NFL long because it's not something I'm gonna watch. Like
Well, and I think too the constant rule changes. The rules seem to change
because
almost every other season, if not every season.
That's my problem. Is
So
because ESPN wants them to.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is ESPN's going on Twitter and 6 guys, or they're going to the whatever the top tweet is. Oh, well, that's not pass interference. And then he's okaying everybody to be like, okay, well, if you got your hand in his face, but you don't have it around his leg, it's fine. And then everybody's confused when you're watching a game.
Yeah.
Like, well,
John, do you remember too,
rules?
when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and Zach Ertz made the catch to score the touchdown, right?
We waited 25 minutes.
We had to wait 25 something minutes. Yeah, you're right. We're exaggerating, of course, but
for
a catch and run and dive into the end zone. And Collinsworth is openly saying, I don't know if that's a catch or not. And he's making a football move 3 steps and he launched into the end zone.
A, because Collinsworth is a racist. B, I just like to say that about because he's that
because he is.
So believe in miracles, guys, too. And we can go back to that later. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch when Jalen Hurts came into the game. During Eagles game.
During Eagles game.
It was some of the worst commentary I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chris Collinsworth is a moron.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's what the NFL is placating to.
Yeah.
This idiot, dumb. We all know football.
Yeah.
Anybody that was raised that watched football, we all understand what a football move is.
Absolutely.
We all understand what a sack is. We all know what in the grasp is.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep changing the rules, you're boring people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what the Super Bowl did.
Yeah, you're not only boring people, you're confusing the hell out of them too. I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I feel like as a fan, and I've been a big time fan of the National Football League. For crying out loud, I've got 32 mini helmets over on the other side here.
Ever since I met you.
Yeah, and I update that collection. So you're talking about a guy that absolutely loves, you got Jerry Rice over my right shoulder here. And I'm thinking like, I love the game. I love football. I love the physicality and the toughness and the team camaraderie or whatever. And yet it just seems like the suits above are just like, you know what, we got to do this. We got to do this. You got to tweak that. You got to move over here. You got to change this rule over here because this is unfair. And it's like, dude, where's the defense? Where is anything right now? Where are you going with all of this?
Can I make a huge point to this?
Go for it.
When the NHL, and this is where the NHL lost me. Remember back in the day, just for a little bit of us, when the left wing lock started. With the Devils, right?
Clutch and grab.
And then you start it with the clutch and grab, and then you start it with Detroit.
Yep.
And you start it with everybody playing this pinch defense, which, by the way, I love. Don't get me wrong. Like,
you're a big fan of left wing lock.
Yeah, pinch defense ever. Yeah. If you could push everybody to the left,
I'll take it.
It's easier to cover everybody. I don't know why they did it. But what happened to the NHL for a couple years was the same thing I think it is happening in the NFL right now, is they're changing all these rules all the time.
Yeah.
And what's happening is people like myself that understood XYZ, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You're not interested.
No.
We're getting a lot of our generation. We're not interested. We really don't want you to do we want to see players not get hurt? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But hot take on the NFL, you probably should have did that 11 years ago.
Absolutely.
When the NHL was doing that and the NBA was doing that and Major League Baseball was paying attention to that.
Again, you're behind
it for 11 years, and now you're wondering why people aren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
This is coming from me and Matt, who've had head injuries from playing sports. We're not speaking out of turn. The NFL didn't pay that close attention.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was headshot after headshot. You look back at some of these highlight packages, you can look them up on YouTube. Just look up like NFL Primetime 1996 is a great example, and you'll go through some highlight films, and it's a different brand of football. It is a completely different brand.
God, I just
product.
remember just Scott Mitchell.
Yeah.
In the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He was huge. He was 6'5", but he would get hurt.
Yeah. John Lynch is a great example because Lynch was a guy.
Donovan, who knows how many concussions he got.
Who knows how many.
Being a running quarterback, being a throwing quarterback. That dude got hit a ton.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like mid to late 90s. And of course, like no one knew back then. No one had any idea what the traumatic brain injuries were going to happen.
But the problem was that the other sports were doing it. They almost, the NFL didn't believe it could happen to them.
Exactly.
But again, they had the most suicides or hospitalizations of former players for head stuff, and they ignored it.
And yet, who was the forefront? The NHL. I give them a lot of credit with the helmet design. That you and I both grew up, John, with helmets that were just foam pads. There was none of the concussion. There was no such thing at that. But
no,
the helmets got better and better as we kept playing.
Oh yeah,
because they kept testing the impacts of the concussion.
The helmet I have right now was when I bought it. I mean, probably not now. I probably go out and buy a better helmet. Not like going out and playing, but
yeah,
I could buy probably a better helmet now. But that I remember us, because the sport said, "Hey guys,
pay
more attention to your straps. Pay more attention to your neck.
Pay more
attention." To your shoulders. They were learning and growing, and the NFL never did that.
That just never did. Yeah. And I think that was a little bit to the detriment of the league, even though the league was incredibly popular throughout the mid to late 90s and into the 2000s. It was like the idea was like, okay, we got to hit, and everybody loved the big hits. And I get that. I love a big hit as much as anybody.
Sheldon Brown on Reggie Bush in the playoffs.
Perfect hit.
Knocked him out of his cleats. Oh, I
loved it.
Dawkins. But let's get into just head injuries to what we're going to talk about to finish off this little football thing. So what do you think about the hit from Clowney to Carson Wentz?
Oh.
Does it lead us to this moment now? I read a tweet earlier that said that and was very derogatory towards the NFL, and that's kind of what fed my reasoning to coming here. He took a pretty gruesome hit.
No question.
And
not
had a
penalized.
very, very jittery season.
Not penalized. And yeah, I think he was not the same quarterback this year. It clearly showed in his play that he was not. I don't think he has been 100% since that hit. And it definitely showed in his play. I mean, what I heard,
I definitely think I would agree with that. Definitely agree like that. So
that kind of leads the question. Like, there's rumors, of course, that Carson is going to be moved, but the Eagles are giving up, essentially, not necessarily giving up because they're going to try and get as much as they can. But Carson is pretty much, the rumors are out there that he's saying, I'm pretty much done in Philly. I want a new start somewhere else. We saw it with the Goff-Stafford trade just this last week. The Rams gave up on Jared Goff. They were like, you know what?
And that's the guy drafted before Wentz.
Yeah, he was number 1 overall, and then Carson was 2. And both of them are on the move. But, one has been on the move and the other will be.
So the Rams are literally coming out and being like, well, you didn't do it. Like, is that the league that we're in? Is that maybe also why? Because
it kind of begs the question, is there any such thing as a franchise quarterback anymore?
But that you're wearing a Westbrook jersey, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of where I'm going to, right? Like Westbrook didn't play for 14 teams.
No, he did not. No.
And he was a good all-pro running back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a terrific career. Yeah. Dawkins too. Dawkins was the same deal. Yeah. But I mean, it just begs the question, it's like everybody's going to get moved at one point. I mean, heck, Brady moved. Everybody thought he was going to be playing in New England for the rest of his life. He's like, you know what? I want to move. I want to take my talents to South Beach. Kind of, sort of, you know.
That makes it. I just literally almost threw up in my mouth. That was so ESPN wrong.
I kind of figured that'd get you.
I'm
But
I'm not a big fan of Bron, just so
no,
everybody knows.
yeah, I did poke you there. But it just makes me wonder, like, you know, Peyton Manning going into the Hall of Fame, another great guy. You know, he was on the move as well. It's like, it makes me wonder, like, everybody's thinking like, oh, you got to get a franchise quarterback. Well, okay, 10 to 15 years. Yeah, it'd be great to have a franchise quarterback for 10 to 15
Everybody
years. But
would
now
love
it seems like,
yeah.
no, if you don't fit within 5 years, you're done. And we're going to move you on.
It seems bizarre. It seems, especially with the Eagles, I totally blame Howard Roseman. I don't even know why he's still the GM, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I understand, like, and trust me, I love Jalen Hurts. I have no issues with Jalen Hurts. I'd be glad to watch him.
Was he a second round pick, though, in your estimation?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He probably should have been. There's teams that should have taken him before. The Eagles shouldn't even have this problem.
Yeah.
I think he's that good.
Yeah.
Dude could just play.
Yeah.
Should he play for the Eagles? They probably should have left that alone. That's my problem with the GM. I didn't hate the pick for the Eagles because the kid can play, but I hated the pick for the Eagles because the kid can play. Why would you do that?
Why would you do this?
Unless Howie understands that hit.
And it was probably one injury too many.
Maybe.
And he was like, you know what? Okay, this is the third year out of 4 that my franchise quarterback has suffered under. You know, the knee, the back, now the head.
I'm not mad at a business decision. I never will be.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to make a business decision.
Yeah.
Love Carson. And I put this on Facebook, just my own personal Facebook. If they want to do a Herschel Walker trade and I get 3 chips out of it,
I'm all for it.
Later, Carson. I have your McFarlane toy over there.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why now.
This close to getting a Carson Wentz jersey over here, but I was like, maybe I get a Nick Foles instead, or I've got, like, you know, the electric football set I put for my quarterback. I put Carson because it's a Super Bowl team, and I'm thinking like, well, he got us week 11 or 12, but didn't finish the whole job. The whole job was done by Nick.
My wife told me a great story the other day. She was in Philly. I was in Dallas when Carson got hurt. It was against the Rams. And I was on the phone with her. We were FaceTiming while I was watching the game. And he got hurt. And we were both gassed up about it. Like that we were going to the Super Bowl. Like that team was that good.
Yeah.
And I literally couldn't tell her that he was hurt.
Yeah.
That bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we went out of the game. She was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Like seeing him go into the locker room, I'm like, oh, he's done.
He's done. Yeah.
He was so done. And I remember talking to her later. I was like, yeah, he's done. And she was like, so the season's over? Like, they don't have. And I remember being like, no, Nick's
got this guy, Nick Foles.
Yeah, Nick's the wild card here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, thank God he won it. I just wanted to share that little story.
It's great. It's great because it's true. I think you captured the sentiment, John, of everybody in Philly that year.
Carson was that good. Like, I didn't even want to tell her that he was hurt because he was that fun to watch that year. And it was the
way that team rallied. Oh,
it was so awesome. And, you can't, but like I said, like if you're gonna trade Herschel Walker and I get 3 Super Bowls out of it, it's a good Dallas reference for all people that like. No, but that trade seems like if they get a running back, quarterback, and a legitimate maybe 2 first-round picks,
they need that they could use on the offensive line, or
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know the Colts want him bad. Like get it as much as you can. To be honest, get as much as you can,
as you possibly can. Absolutely, yeah.
Because if you're not going to keep him, because he's going to cost you like $38 million on the cap this year. If if you're not going to keep him, if you're all about wasting $38 million, you might want to do something good. You might want to bring enough back to win a couple championships. And maybe that's where Laurie and Banner. I said Banner. Look at that.
I look at that.
Freudian slip right there. Are they the same guy? Who knows?
I don't know.
No, Roseman and Laurie might be thinking, like, I want it more than just 18.
Yeah.
Or 17, whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We just have to figure that stuff out. But yeah, it's like, I mean, it was a very interesting pick when they picked Hurts, no question, because I think you're right, John. I think Roseman was probably thinking, like, I've got to have a young insurance policy because I had Josh McCown as my backup quarterback, and he's 40 and he ripped his hamstring off his bone, basically. So we weren't going to go past the wild card round at that point. It was back to
car insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of other people. It has that. This is not something that has to do with Carson Wentz. It has everything to do with why does everybody have car insurance?
Yeah.
Because of other people.
Because of other people. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good talk, man. Yeah. Yeah. So it's Jalen. It'll probably be Jalen Hurts' team, probably take it on in spring, summer. Yeah.
If they trade him, you know what? I'm all on board with Jalen Hurts. I'll get a Jalen Hurts jersey. I'll support him.
He's the man. Yeah,
absolutely. You're the man. I had.
I'll roll with you.
I had fun watching him. Actually, I watched more at the end of the year. Not saying that he's better than Carson or he's even the answer. I just I liked his moxie. I liked he was having fun and it made me have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
It wasn't so serious.
I gotta find a way somehow to get back in, John. I think just to close up this loop, I'm thinking like with the NFL, let's face it, the COVID pandemic really was strange to watch a football game with half empty or no fans in the stands.
You don't even funny story. I'll actually tell you a real funny story and then you can close it up, right?
Yep.
So I bought a sound bar, right? In the weirdest time to ever buy a sound bar.
Yeah.
Because you can't use it.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you
like, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly.
So what my thought process was completing my entertainment center was, we'll get the sound bar because everybody knows like the fans in 17 or even last year's Super Bowl, you can in your apartment, in your house,
you get that feel, that sense,
that love, that like people cheering and going.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was funny. Like everybody can make fun of me. I bought a sound bar during a pandemic. And I don't use it. It's on right now. Well, it's off, but it's on.
Okay, there you go.
Right over there.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, I think that also was a big factor. And
the fans. Yeah, absolutely.
The fans not being there was a huge factor. There would be times too, like I would go to the bar or whatever with a buddy of mine and we would, watch a game or whatever. And, the crowds that form around the bars and you hear, the Eagles playing, all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's great. There's nothing else like it. But this year was just so different, unlike any other season.
Yeah. And I think that had a little bit to do with it.
And that had a lot to do with it too. I think so.
I'm gonna blame a little bit any of my Dallas friends that are watching this. I'm gonna blame it a little bit on you too. Because I had to go to a bar to watch the Eagles games with you people.
I'm
just messing around.
That's too funny.
How hard it is to watch an Eagles Cowboys game with a bunch of Cowboy fans that literally are your friends. Like they're your friends. Like I generally like these people.
Yeah.
But they're Cowboy fans. And I'm like,
that's wild.
It made me want to stay home a lot. It literally did. No joke. Like my boy Scott, hopefully he catches us. I'll just shoot him a text and send this one to him.
There you go.
Like, love that dude. That dude is a cowboy. Like he's the cowboyest cowboy fan I think I ever met.
That's funny.
He's as much of an Eagles fan as I am. He's a Cowboys fan. It was tough to watch games with him.
Yeah, I bet.
But yet I would hang out with him on like Saturday or Friday. Dude, we would talk. We talked hockey for like 7 straight hours once.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He was a Stars fan. I don't have a team.
What?
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that
I
one.
just don't have a hockey team. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Matt's mad at me for that, but
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have a talk post show on this
I
one.
refuse. I'm 3 for 4. Well, actually, 4 for 5 because I like the soccer team.
Oh, there you go.
So
Yeah, the Philly Union. Yeah.
yes.
There you
So
go.
I'm 4 for 5. I just apologize. Okay? It's a bad thing.
That'll be an
Moving on.
off-camera discussion.
Yes, let's move on. Let's move on to this screenshot.
Yeah, let's transition a little bit from this to the COVID talk. And some really good news, obviously, from the World Health Organization, paid off by China. Anyway, but good news on this. Decline in global coronavirus cases shows variants can be controlled, and the number of health infections are reported they're going down. So third week in a row, the number of new cases from COVID are going down. Still some countries having a little bit of a spike, but generally overall, over the last 3 weeks, WHO has seen a decrease.
Seems like it's going well. Just real quick, just as a note, this map of the spread, this is up to date. We're going to put this in the show notes just so you guys can pay attention if you want to get more into the data. This is all from not only the the World Health Organization. Johns Hopkins is also involved. This is a very comprehensive understanding if you want to really keep what's going on, maybe to keep the fear down and everything like that. This seems like legit. We ran through it a couple times. It seems really good.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like in where I live in just outside of Philly, John, in Chester County, like our recovery rate was like at one point, I think it was in mid-November, early December. It was kind of, recovery rate was like 64. Well, I checked it today, it was at 83% recovery.
Nice.
So people are recovering from it, which is good and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we still have a fair number of negative tests to compare to positives. The number of deaths were like I think at 650. So it's like you still don't like any loss of life. Obviously, we've covered this before.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to beat it to death, but we definitely want to spread some really good news.
Really good news. And then of course here we've got an article from Becker. We'll throw this in our show notes. BeckersHospitalView.com has basically been tracking by state the number of vaccine doses that have been distributed and the number of vaccine doses that have been administered, and then they come up with a percentage. North Dakota, obviously a rural state, so we should mention that right off the top, but they have distributed and administered the vaccine to 96%, or I should say that basically the number of doses they've administered versus the number of doses that they've received is basically 96%. So they're doing excellent in regards to that. West Virginia, 90%, that's number 3. You got South Carolina up there. I didn't quite catch that number, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. I think it got cut off.
Yeah, it did get cut off. But yeah, you're probably looking at between 81 and 84% there for South Carolina.
Most likely, yeah. You're about right.
Yep. Then scrolling a little bit further down, you've got South Dakota, of course, at 81%. You got Wisconsin at 80%, Oklahoma at 78%. Virginia.
South Dakota is a one important thing because they didn't ever stop doing anything.
Yeah, no mask mandate.
They seem to be pretty efficient at everything they do. They slowed down. They didn't have a spike, but they literally, when you give them a vaccine, they're like, "Whoop, we can handle that real quick." Like
done.
Seems smart.
Really important to also mention this too. I think I just briefly said it, but it's like no mask mandate in that state, right, John? And then they also did not shut down anything in terms of the economy.
No businesses were shut down.
So that goes to say something a little bit. Now, of course, that's a rural state, but it's great news regardless.
But it can be compared to Utah, which I've spent a lot of time in. Not very rural. Doing a great job with it. I know that their restrictions weren't super bad from people that I've talked to. Moving forward, let's get into where I live.
Yeah, Texas. So Texas, you got 3.2 million that have been administered.
A lot of people here. It's-
A lot of people in Texas. Yeah, it's Texas and the rest
And
of the
it's
United
also-
States.
It's also rural and citywide.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. So you got 3.2 million administered. You got 4.4 million doses distributed. 73%. That's pretty good, John. That's like right
I
around
would
the
say
median part of the curve.
Yeah, for a big state.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Their restrictions also, just for everybody to know, their restrictions are still, there's mask mandates only in stores. There's not mask mandates outside. Everybody seems to be pretty much where I'm living and I have friends in other cities. Everybody seems to be getting back to work. It doesn't, like, it's not closed down. So it's very positive.
Yeah.
It's very positive. And I've been in East Texas too, where they don't wear masks in East Texas.
Yeah.
At all. I spent some time in the middle of the summer in East Texas, and they were like, nope, not doing that.
Amazing.
And it was crazy because they didn't, in the couple towns that I was in, there were it was like 75 infections. Like across the board, like going up and down East Texas. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
I was like focusing on that because we were like building to do this. This was right before we started the podcast. So I was paying attention to these things, and I was like, there were very low numbers, especially like in the Texas and Louisiana, like very low numbers. And it was like, they're not doing what the news is saying to do, but yet, also during that time, please let you know there were tornado or hurricanes coming through. So
yeah, there's a little bit more things to worry about too.
There's more things to worry about than COVID. So probably the numbers weren't coming as fast and furious.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get to where my hometown, Matt's hometown.
Really, do we really need to go down here, John?
Yeah, there we go. Well, because we love Governor Wolf, so let's give him everything that we can, because he's such a great governor.
Yeah, he really is. He's fantastic.
And just to quote your dad, for vaccine release, that would be something the National Guard would do.
Could do easily. Yeah.
Yeah, easily. You just give them the job and then they do it.
For our audio listeners, this article says that Pennsylvania is 46th out of 50 states in terms of the percentage of distributed vaccines that have been administered. So in Pennsylvania, they have administered 1.4 million doses. They've been distributed 2.2 million. That means there's 800,000 people waiting to get vaccinated.
Now let's just roll back up real quick. Just for size. Okay.
Yeah.
I live in Texas.
I shuddered.
Read the Texas numbers again.
Yeah.
How many people?
So you have 3.2 million doses administered, 4.4 million distributed to the state, 73%. So that's a difference of about 12 percentage points comparing the two different states.
Texas is a little bit bigger. Pennsylvania's a pretty big place.
Yeah, Pennsylvania has two metropolitan areas. They've got, of course, the rural area in the middle of the state, Pennsyltucky, as we like to call it up here in Pennsylvania.
Just for funsies,
because it's just so conservative.
Yes.
Politically. But this governor, Wolf, has slowed down. In fact, the state legislature has introduced a bill asking the governor to employ the National Guard once again to help out with the distribution of the vaccines. And, it's funny, John, I had my dad over here, right? And he was helping me put up an outdoor, hold on. We had like an outdoor blind I put it up in my house, right? And of course he mentions this. And I said, well, Dad, of course he's going to ask for the National Guard to help. He should have asked that to be done 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
And one example that would have set. But no, he didn't do that. And so now we're behind.
He's fallen short in absolutely everything. I don't live there, so it doesn't affect me. It does affect my kids who live there. But he's
not good.
My governor, but my governor doesn't suck as far.
Yeah.
as governor. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's like, just going back to this COVID thing, where where we know everything. When you lock everybody down, you know there's going to be suicides are going to go up. You know that alcoholism is going to go up. You know that that divorces are going to go up.
Yeah.
Child abuse is going to go up.
Yeah. Domestic abuse too.
People aren't meant to be stuck in a box.
Yeah.
And thank God there are people out there that can get through it without resorting to these things.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it could be a lot worse when we let these idiot governors and mayors stop people from living for something that, yes, is the vaccine helping? Probably. I mean, the numbers are going down. You gotta believe that for yourself.
No, yeah.
Like, nobody can tell you that.
Exactly.
But it's just, if this ever happens again, we need to make sure that we don't fight each other and we figure out what they're doing, because they made a ton of mistakes.
Oh, big time. Yeah, I think
And
that's
it shows.
Such a great point, John.
And they still are.
Oh, yeah. Such a great point, because I think that in the early days of the pandemic, from what I remember, people did not, the articles we saw were like,
I was scared.
We don't want what happened in Philadelphia in 1918 to happen to any other city. And so people were thinking, well, what is that? Well, in 1918, there was a huge parade. I think it was a Veterans Day parade, if I'm not mistaken, down in
I think you're 100.
Philadelphia and in Center City. They had a parade during the 1918 pandemic. And we've gone, John and I have talked about the 1918 pandemic in prior podcasts, of just how deadly that was. And that was pretty, like, really, really bad. A lot of millions of lives lost. So the thought process, I think, for all of the governors was, we don't want our major metropolitan cities to have to go through something like that again. We don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system. You hear about that all the time.
That makes sense.
And that made total sense. And it's like, okay, that makes sense to shut everybody down. We don't know what the virus is going to do. We have no idea how it's going to be transmitted. We need to gather as much information as we can. Well, as we found out more and more about the virus, and as we saw the caseloads kind of going, fluctuating more like this, it wasn't really spiking until really the late fall, early December. But by then, we had an idea on how to treat it. It may not have been perfect, but it was a good idea. We had the cocktail. We had the cocktail of drugs.
Which does work.
Which does work and has knocked out the coronavirus and a lot of people have recovered. And there have also been, I think, far minor cases than there have been major ones.
Well, just we don't have it in the show notes. I'll try to find it and I'll throw it on there. The CDC did do something a couple weeks ago that they were talking about the cycles of the test. The CDC is talking about how there were a ton of false positives during this second spike, which would lead you to believe that the first one was that way. I'll try to find that article and put it in the show notes. Maybe even shoot it out in this as a video clip so we can get it to more people.
Yeah.
It's important. It's definitely important. It's important to look inside ourselves and look inside what we're going through. If this is coming to an end and we just had a Super Bowl with a bunch of people and we just had WrestleMania with a bunch of people. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to have WrestleMania.
We're going to have WrestleMania with a bunch of people.
Myself. Yeah, we're going to have WrestleMania with a bunch of people in the same venue. We're starting to get back to normal. So I think it's a time of reflection.
Yeah. Major League Baseball, they're going to announce, or they have announced that they're going to play a full 162 and with people in the stands.
It's either going to be 158 or 162, but they're gonna Major League Baseball do it with fans in the stands.
Yeah, I think the NFL, I give them credit for like saying, okay, we're going to play during a pandemic. We're going to try and have fans in the stands, but we're going to try and have a minimal crowd. Make sure they're
just for Philly hate. I give Jerry Jones all the credit because he started out in the beginning of this pandemic. He was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
There will be fans and I will make sure it's safe. End of story.
End of story.
And you know what? Good on him.
Give props to him. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it makes me feel like some people are smarter than other people.
Oh yeah. They are willing to say, look I'm going to take this chance, but you are going to be well protected.
But I don't think it's a chance when you think of it logically. And that's kind of I know I lost a lot of friends on Facebook during this because I tried to take a level head, but I'm willing to stand here and say maybe I'm a better person because I tried to take a level head.
Yeah.
And this is why me and Matt put this podcast together, because we had level heads.
Yeah, same here.
We weren't freaking out.
Yeah. We were trying to look at this logically.
Trying to help our friends, and we lost some people. And you know what? Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
I think that's how we end this podcast. Sorry, not sorry.
Exactly. Well, and I'll just say one other thing before we close, John.
Absolutely.
Really coming out of this, I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned, like the importance of community, the importance of family.
Yep. Small businesses.
Please
support. If you have $1, if you're listening,
churches,
Barstool
synagogues, churches, synagogues, mosques, whatever the case may be. The sense of community was lost. So I don't want to hear like the biggest wonderful argument I hear all the time is, oh, we should have Zoom calls all the time and replace that. No. You want to get out. You want to leave your home. You want to go out and drive the car to work, get back into the regular routine of what it was like prior to all of this. And that
absolutely, we're getting there though. We're
getting there. So that's the most important thing. And I'll just
love everybody. Thanks for listening to us be preachy.
Just
messing with Matt.
Every once in a while. Yeah, exactly. Every once in a while. Well, John, episode 17. I can't believe it's like we keep doing this. It's so much fun doing this with you, man. Where can people find us, of course?
So we're
a little shameless plug.
Yes, exactly. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Gab. We will be on Parler, but that won't be on the screen. If you want to catch us on video, we're on YouTube and Rumble. BitChute isn't doing anything at this point, so you could probably watch episode 11 if you would like to. But BitChute is not, and apparently they closed down shop or whatever. But we'll say BitChute anyway, just for fun season. We'll put their logo up just because we love them. Audio podcast. Spotify sucks. We're on Apple. Google. Sorry, that made me laugh. We're on Google Podcasts. Nice. We're on iHeartRadio. Two Noobs Talking, 215-512 podcast. Also Discord. It will appear on the screen. There will be some kind of thing. We have some memes running. We have our show notes can be there. We're going to try to build that up when we have a little bit more time. We've been kind of crunched in the last 2 weeks. So
absolutely
trying to figure that thing out a little bit later, but we have it. It's at least a thing.
And then of course, like our regular show notes are found on WordPress. It's TwoNoobsTalking.wordpress.com. Again, we'll have all the links for the screenshots we shared in the descriptions below.
And anything else we can think of.
And everything else we could throw in there at the last possible minute. No, I'm kidding.
We try.
John, anything else to close? Anything else to say?
Matt, don't go down the rabbit hole.
We'll try not to. Talk to you all next week. Take care.